Hi. I am just so content. It is so beautiful out here. Now I'm completely wrecking the silence that I've spent half an hour to instill. Because, when you're out here, see where I am? I'm by the stream and the pond. It's a Serenity Dippity Pond. And the rest of the stream. You can see where the stream is flooded and it's become ice. Anyway, I really shouldn't be talking loudly. So sometimes I think what I'm hearing, I thought it was an animal under the ice, but now I think it's ice. Probably a chunk of ice has let go and come down the stream, and then it has gone under the ice, where I think it's ice covered somewhere. Well, it's ice covered up here. Well, anyway, but this is higher than that. Which doesn't make sense. But see, I can't see it because of this black thing, so I don't know if it's frozen on the other side of the black thing or if it's open water. Can you see that? I can't see it myself. But if it's all open water, and that is a big barricade now, I wonder if it will hold the water so that the pond will stay high. The pond would get high at this time of year, and then the stream would be that high, but the stream would go down, and so would the pond. And now that they're separated, I think that it's possible that the pond may stay higher. There's so many sounds out here, other than the traffic, which is a necessary evil, and for which I'm actually very grateful. There's so much out here. There's so much going on. But you don't see anything going on when you just come and look at it. It's like, oh yeah, this is a neat painting I've walked into. Cool. And then you walk out of it. But it's not a painting, it's a real place. And there's animals and birds and fish even. And there's weather. And it's alive. This whole place out here is alive. The stream running. And this is why we bought the property, was this place. It's changed now. They cleared a whole lot of things here. When we bought it, there was a path along the edge. And we walked up the path, and we were astounded at this beautiful little brook and pond. And the brook was just going by. It was the most beautiful brook. And so we bought it. Yay! And this was back in, I don't know when that was. 20 years ago. Is it 20? This is 77. No, I think it's 22 years ago or something. I don't know. Imagine doing something for 22 years. I never did anything for 22 years. Stayed in one place. This is the longest I've lived anywhere, and it's the most beautiful place anywhere. I've lived in small towns. It had its own charm. There was beautiful things about it, but when I wanted to go to the country or to the woods, I'd have to get in the car and drive for about half an hour. And then there was a forest that was open to the public. And I thought, that's a long way to drive. There was a lot of trees and a lot of pretty scenery between there and there, but anyway, but now I don't have to drive anywhere. I take pictures down here. Hi, chickadees. You can hear me talking. I don't have a jar of food for them here. I'm not sure why, but I don't. Hi, chickadee. I don't know if there's any jar of food back there on the ground. And I don't have any seeds in my pocket today. I don't know if there's anything here for you. I don't think so. He's in that big clump now. There is a jar of seeds in that chair over there. But that would mean walking out here and down there and across the bridge and in through the path to the chair there with the seeds in it. Do you know how much work that is with a walker? I guess I should have just ski poles, but I don't want to go on anything that's got ice on it. Hey, little chickadees. You guys know me, don't you? You know I might feed you. They're such cool little animals. Dee 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 dee. Dee dee. Dee 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 dee. You know, the moat road is quite interesting. I walk down there and go around the moat. But there's a lot of open space. And I'm not really good with open space. I like clutter. I really feel comfortable in clutter, and I don't feel comfortable in open space. I don't like kayaking across the center of a lake. I'd rather go around the edge where all the interesting chaos is. And just like here, I would rather be down here in this interesting chaos, searching for bird nests, listening. I would rather be, and waiting too. Sometimes if I sit here very quietly, you know, I'll see a mink. He'll be swimming up the stream, or an otter, or a beaver, or a muskrat. Those things, it's very possible to see them. It's not at all out of the question. The otters go through every 2 weeks, and so if you figure out where they go and follow them, or not follow them, but just come back a lot, you'll see them. In the summertime, there's a woodcock that lives in there. You know, I used to come down here all the time. 6 years I've been in Georgia. 6 years I've spent a lot of the winter in Georgia. So I haven't been here in March for 6 years. I used to come down here every day. The kids would go to the bus. I would walk them down the hill, say a prayer with them. They didn't really like I was saying a prayer with them. Anyway, I'd walk them down to the bus, wave goodbye, and then while they would go away, I would come this direction, in through the woods over there, and I would sit. But I didn't have this rocking chair. This is very nice. This is a new one from last year, and I know what it is. I would carry a folding chair with me. That's it. I had in it my camera, my notebook, and my pen. And I was set, ready to go as long as I could. So unless there was something pressing at the house, you know, like breakfast dishes or kitchen cleanup, all that junk, I used to have to do a lot of that. I mean, you see my videos of how messy my kitchen was. I mean, you know, if I take a break at all, it just piled right up. So it piled up a lot. Often. But I would clean it. I don't know how often I get it actually clean. It was kind of survival mode back then, you know? You just tried to get up, survive, go to bed. I had children. From the time I had 5 children, and then it became 3, and then they grew. So it was really 3 children for many years. And they all were teenagers. They all went through the same rebellion stuff. Very interesting raising kids. And so anyway, when they would all be gone, and I would have no interest in going back to the house to do any more work, I would come in here. I'd come in here anyway. And I would sit and I would write. I would write about what I was hearing. I would listen and I would write about the sound of the chickadees. And I would describe everything. I would describe the dense branches and how the brown became concentrated in the middle. And the mounds of white snow. But I'd add a few extra adjectives in there. Ice covered or ice or anyway, I'd have to think about that because it's almost solid ice. And it's not. There's layers of ice in it. And some of the snow inside is missing. So the top layer of ice is pretty good, but if it breaks, then you'll hit the next layer. Thanks for being here with me. Isn't it nice? I like hanging out. Look at that ice out there, how it's... I don't know how well this camera is doing, but anyway, that ice out there at the base of all the trees, where the trees hit the water. See on the edge of the trees is a layer of ice, just a shelf held in place by the trees it is frozen to. It's very interesting. See how the color of the ice changes? Not only the color, see, yeah, the color, it goes from the gray to a kind of greenish gray to more of a greenish on this side, and I think on this side too. But I think that has something to do with the stream. I think the stream flooded over or something. This is really a Christmas scene. Only you can tell it's not Christmas because the amount of ice and the way it's shaped. You can tell the snow is going and not coming. You can tell it's also in flood. You can just see that. It's nice to have you come over. So interesting what you'll hear. Bye.